I want to just take and amplify some thoughts very briefly on just this whole concept of what a Christian leader really needs to be. I don't mean this in any personal insult. I've done all my insulting for the night. But in all honesty, tragically in the realm of ministry, we are often even urged to look at the business world to see how we should do God's work. And we have this comparison between how business is done or how leadership is done in an environment of a secular realm, and we certainly, I don't mean to imply, and don't get hoity-toity on me here, I do believe that there are wholesome models of leadership that go on outside of church. But can I say unashamedly, any person who exercises right leadership outside the context of spiritual leadership, if they're doing it, it's only because they have either directly or indirectly learned from God's Word how to do it. Because God is the ultimate leader. Leadership started with God. And so the only source of true leadership ultimately is traceable back to God. I hope you understand how my thought is. I'm not saying that every leader is a Christian. That is not true. I'm not saying that every person who leads is saying, I want to do it like the Bible does. And yet there are things that they do that are parallel to what the Bible does, just because they picked up on either proper things or things that are related. So my point is, leadership ultimately is found in this book. This is the best leadership manual in all the world. Jesus faced that one day with his disciples as he was developing their leadership skills. You know the passage probably, Mark chapter 10, where they were fussing about who was going to be the greatest, who was going to be the leader, who's going to sit on this side, who's going to sit on that side. And in the context of that illustration, Jesus gives these very poignant words. He sort of brings them to attention, and then he says, ye know that they who are accounted to rule over the Gentiles exercise lordship over them. Gentiles there really just describing anybody other than Jews. It's not picking on Gentiles. It's not an ethnicity reference. It's simply saying Jews at that time lived at a time where they were subservient to Gentile ownership over them and lordship over them. So he said, Jews, you know how these Gentiles work. They rule over you. And says this, that they exercise their particular lordship over them, and their great ones exercise authority upon them. Even describing, as you will, a chain of command that would be there. And then after Jesus makes that sort of accurate description of leadership of his day, we have this wonderful little conjunction, which is usually in the Bible to arrest our attention. But, and you need to be prepared for an about face anytime you encounter that. One of my favorite expressions of that is in Ephesians chapter 2, where it describes our lostness, dead in trespasses and sin, etc., etc. And then it says, but God, who is rich in mercy. In the face of the decadence of Ephesians 2, 1 through 3, we have the little arresting conjunction, but, and we go down a totally different direction. God, who is rich in mercy. Now, in this case, here's how leadership goes in the world. And by the way, 3 components of leadership that the world has is, it's built on position. I have this position, so I'm a leader. And I'm not disdaining position. I love to travel and not identify myself as a president. In fact, as I sit down on an airplane, I'll often, the